Hey there, welcome. This is The James Show. You're listening to News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go. The Wednesday edition of The James Show begins now. I'm going to have some details on a breaking news story. There was a shooting reported at a Ramadan event in Philadelphia. I mean, this just happened minutes before the show started. And so we'll see if the coverage drops off in, the next 12 to 24 hours. Well, then it wasn't someone who looks like me and Sean now, was it? And it wasn't someone who shares the religious or political views of our first guest, Shelley Luther. Now, Shelley Luther is making a name for herself. I don't even know how to describe her. Are you a business owner? Are you a political activist? Are you a politician? Are you an elected state rep? Where are we at with Shelley Luther these days? How do you even describe yourself to new people?
I would say that I am a business owner. I still own the salon that I was thrown in jail for opening during COVID. But I think that kind of, thrusted me into the political realm, I think. And now we're here, and I'm, just got elected as the Republican in the Texas House. And I'll be on the ballot in November.
See, I like your story, even though I'm not familiar with all the bullet points and nuances of your policy positions. I thought that's what every business owner should have been doing because, there's a little thing called the Constitution that was kind of standing in the way of the validity of all these mandates and the ability of the government to even tell you if you can and can't open your business. And I think the people who defied all of these illogical mandates in real time when it was happening deserve to be elevated, and those who fell for it, or those who, even worse, pushed it, they should all be kicked out of their seats of power. So I'm really interested in seeing how the Shelley Luther political turn comes up, because I know you're not in this for power. I know you're not a person who is seeking politics. Politics came to your door. Politics is the one that came knocking at you. You didn't seek power. So I thought that was super interesting. Now, the first test is going to be this new contract with Texas. I heard about this at the beginning of the week. It sounds like the contract with America that Newt Gingrich and the Republicans offered the American people when they ushered in the first Republican majority in Congress in, 60 years or something like that. Is this meant to echo the contract with America?
I think as Texans, we need to get back on track and make sure that right now a very powerful person in the Texas House is the Speaker. And it just was never not supposed to be that way. So it has gone off the rails, and we need to rein it back in and make sure that conservatives and Republicans are actually getting represented in the Texas House.
So have you signed on to this new contract with Texas?
Absolutely. I was one of the first ones to sign it.
So what makes you support this?
There's a lot of things, and without going through all of the bullet points, one of the most important ones to me is a speaker that is speaking the speakership out in the open, being very transparent about what their ideas are and what they want for the Texas House, and not colluding with Democrats to get their vote to be put into the position. And what happens with that is if you have a Republican that is seeking the speakership and they can't get the Republican members to vote for them, then they seek Democrats to go vote for them. And so they will have to promise, that they would be able to get committee chair memberships. They would have majority committees. They would pass Democrat bills before any of the really legitimate conservative priorities are passed. And he'll also promise that his minions will kill conservative legislation. And that's how a speaker is able to get that chair position without getting any almost no Republican support.
Yeah, it seems wild that there's not a Democrat that's in one statewide elected office, but they're the majority in a handful of committees in the House of Representatives. That does not seem right.
No, it's not right. And not even then just being the majority in the committee, it's them being the actual committee chair. Because when a bill is presented, that chair has the right to kill it immediately right there without it getting a hearing, without the committee hearing about it or anything. So that is giving a Democrat in several of our very important committees too much power, honestly.
So this delineates you from other Republicans. Who are these other Republicans we need to be watching out for? I mean, are there any big names, or do you not want to name names?
If you know anything about me, I'm all about naming names. But the biggest problem right now is Dade Phelan. And we're hoping that the other Republicans that have worked very closely with Phelan will someday be ready to jump on the ship with us and demand some reform as well. So I don't want to knock anyone because I don't know who's going to sign on. We still have people at every moment of the day asking about it and wanting to jump on the ship. So I'm excited.
Is there more than one contract with Texas? Because I've heard of other similar contracts being created.
Not that I've heard of. The only one that I am aware of, and that me and some, there were several House incumbents that started it, and some of the new House members that put it together. They presented it to us, and I'm like, man, I'm all about this. And any quote unquote conservative that has a problem with any of this, we as Texans should have a problem with them, honestly.
Well, the people that wrote this, or at least get credit for typing it out first, is Colin Strong, which is a reference to Collin County. Is this your organization? Are you part of them?
I have been to that organization, but no, it was only individuals that I know of. But it started with the 4 very conservative incumbent House representatives, and that's Schatzline, Tenderholt, Brian Harrison, and Steve Toth. But there are also some other incumbents that have jumped on board and signed the contract as well. And there's also help from a few of the brand new Texas House members that will be getting signed in January. Mitch Little, that's a familiar name, and others that have contributed to it. But I'm telling you, it's a great thing. It should be something that we should have been doing a long time ago.
Well, good luck in November. Maybe you'll finally get in office and we can see what you can do. But how's your health? I remember you had a health scare last year. Are you doing okay?
I'm doing great. It was about a year ago that I had a brain aneurysm explode in my carotid artery, and I was hospitalized and for over 3 weeks, had speech therapy, had physical therapy, and then within several months was running a campaign again and ended up winning. So I owe all of that to God. There's not really a scientific reason why I'm still able to sit here and actually even talk to you. And so I'm giving all the glory to God, and I'm excited to represent him and my constituents in the Texas House.
Yeah, I guess he's not done with you yet. Shelley Luther, thanks for being on the James Show. Good luck in November, and you'll have to come back on some other time.
Thank you so much. I sure will.
All right, what'd you think about Shelley Luther's comments? 800-288-9227, 800-288-WBAP. Do you buy this idea that this contract with Texas is something that they're going to live up to, or is it something they're just signing to get votes? Because the contract with America didn't all get passed. In fact, less than half of it got passed. It really turned out to be just a way to get votes. Is that all this is? Or do you got to take your chances? 800-288-9227. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I was looking into that shooting that happened in Philly right before the show started. It's the end of Ramadan. They were having some event next to a park, Clara Muhammad Square, which that's the name of the place. What kind of weird coincidence is that? I am finding very little on TV. There's almost nothing online. Finding quite a bit on Twitter/X. So 4 people in custody is what the people in Twitter world, X world, are saying. Guns are recovered, and the shooting's over. It's not like an active shooting situation. I do not have any count on the number of people dead or injured. Bushman, do you have that number? A number of people dead or injured? Because when I see it, I'll pass it along. Look, why is this showing up on both of my TVs, MSNBC and Fox News? So far, it fits the narrative. It will drop the second it doesn't, though. They will abandon it. You know, there was a mass shooting in Florida over the weekend. You didn't hear about it, though, or on Monday. You didn't hear about the mass shooting, the shooting spree in Florida on Monday? Some woman got freaked out by the eclipse, said God told her to go kill people. You know, psychotic, schizo, whatever. takes a gun and starts driving down the freeway, I-10, shooting at people. And it hits a couple of them, finally gets taken into custody. But it's not one of us. So it doesn't fit the narrative, doesn't make them look bad, doesn't make you look bad, so it got skipped. Also, over Easter weekend, I'd like to point out, there were a handful of people shot there. By a handful, I mean 33 people were shot, 7 fatally in Chicago over the Easter weekend. So while, you're right to be concerned, every life is lost is a tragedy. It's amazing how they'll focus on some of these mass shootings in the hopes that it can further their political narrative and then drop it the second it doesn't fit anymore. But we still have to hear about the ones that do. We still hear about Parkland. We still hear about Uvalde. We hear regular updates on you got a Uvalde update like last week. So I'll keep an eye on this and let you know if something more comes of it. And I know we're all sort of playing that gross little racial bingo game that we all dive into when things like this happen. But there's another breaking news story that happened a little bit before the James show started. There was a strike in Gaza. And the reports say, and I give you a boulder of salt, not a grain of salt, like a basketball-sized chunk of salt to go with this, because how terrible has the reporting been from war zones, whether it's Iraq or Afghanistan or Ukraine or Israel. But let's just go with what we have. There is some leader in Hamas who is now going to have to bury 3 of his sons if they can find all the pieces to put back together. But the Israeli Defense Force says 3 sons of Hamas's most senior leader were killed in an airstrike. This is such a weird situation to be in, because for a lot of people, they see this and they're like, okay, well, it's obvious who the good guys and the bad guys are. But there's a whole chunk of society that's not allowed to say one's better than the other. It's the Evan Sayet theory, non-discriminateness is a moral imperative. Well, how dare you take the side of Israel? The suffering of the people in Gaza is real. Oh, yeah, it's absolutely real. Suffering people of Israel is real. I don't understand either side that you're on, why you would support both sides of a siege, why you would amplify and extend human suffering. Sounds like you're on neither one of their sides. Sounds like you're against both of them, because neither one of them benefit. Neither the Palestinians or the people of Gaza or the people of Israel, the Jews of Israel and the regular citizens of any religion of Israel, neither one of them benefit from our intervention into this. We're stretching it out. We're making it last a lot longer than it would. There's a lot more suffering than there otherwise would be. Same thing that's going on in Ukraine. The Ukraine war would have been over if we had just butted out by now. And maybe Putin would have gotten to the Donbass region or a couple of little provinces here and there. And that's not my preference. That's not your preference. But it doesn't justify us funding, you funding, with deficit spending and inflation, by the way, the continued suffering of all these people for a year now, 2 years. How long has the Ukraine war been going on? 3 years, 2 years? Yeah, we just passed 2. Okay. So that's going on with that. And it's been my experience, whether the situation with the Israel and the Palestinians is the one that's happening now or one of the previous Antifadas that was going in like 2001 or the Yom Kippur War or whatever. I think this has been a great litmus test on your fellow neighbors to find out if they can have the ability to say, this culture is coming up with better results than this other culture. I think I will support the more successful of the two without feeling like some sort of racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe. I go to Ayn Rand. She was on Phil Donahue's show in 1979. You don't even have to know what was going on in 1979. Just look at how perfectly this parallels what the discussion could be today. Ayn Rand, 79.
I'd like to know your opinion on the United States' foreign policy and what is happening in the Middle East right now.
Right now, I'm not sure we know what's happening. I think that the United States foreign policy has been disgraceful for years, for decades. I would say roughly since the New Deal, and in part even before that. But if you mean whose side should one be on, Israel or the Arabs, I would certainly say Israel because it's the advanced, technological, civilized country amidst a group of almost totally primitive savages who have not changed for years and who are racist and who resent Israel because it's bringing industry and intelligence and modern technology into their stagnation.
Your philosophy of objectivism.
That's right.
I just have one.
Hang on. Well, we'll get Phil Donahue's pushback when we get back from this break. But did you hear some of those boos in the background? Did anything she say, was it inaccurate? Well, it's not flattering to some groups of people or to some cultures. It's not a compliment. But was she wrong? You'll hear Donahue's pushback, and she pushbacks even harder against him. I'll give you my thoughts, and then we'll get all caught up on the news of the day. Coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.